If we date the beginning of Silicon Valley with when the term was coined in 1971 by Don Hawthorne magazine editor, then already today we're 30 plus years into the history of Silicon Valley. By that time, the early 1970s, really, the roots of Silicon Valley were firmly established, going back as far as the establishment of Stanford University in 1891, and then when Moffett Field opened, a military base, in 1932. The outline version of the history of Silicon Valley reads sort of like a litany and is very common knowledge to high-tech people in this valley. That William Shockley established Shockley Laboratories in 1957. He had been the inventor of the transistor, and that 8 of his employees defected, that was a term that he used, and went off and started Fairchild Semiconductor. And they were known as the Traitorous 8. And then those 8 people and then a number of other people who worked for Fairchild went off and established innumerable other electronics companies. And then the defense industry also participated in getting the ball rolling on what has become the Silicon Valley. Stanford University was a key element in all this. It had an important electrical engineering department going back as far as the early 20th century. And one of its professors, Frederick Terman, was very influential to a number of people that would go on to start electronics companies, not the least of which were Hewlett and Packard in their now famous Palo Alto garage, and the Varian brothers. Terman wanted to keep a lot of his students who graduated from the electrical engineering department local, but a number of them couldn't get a job here, so they would go back to the Boston area and MIT to work. And so he came up with a few plans to keep some of his prized students here, and among those was a cooperative between the university and business, whereby they would share facilities, they would share ideas, they would share research, and these companies could establish themselves in a campus situation and carry on business. The result was Stanford Industrial Park, and it became a model for hundreds of industrial parks across this valley. Meanwhile, new inventions and advanced technology became a daily occurrence in Silicon Valley. And Intel co-founder Robert Noyce introduced the microprocessor in 1971. And 6 years later, Sunnyvale native Steve Wozniak and his friend Steve Jobs co-founded Apple Computer to produce their prototype personal computers. And so between the microprocessor and personal computers and semiconductor research, those industries all demanded support industries that grew up around the valley as well. Venture capital companies were formed to fund all these new enterprises, and real estate companies were out scouting around to purchase land to build new facilities. And the land that they purchased to build these facilities had very recently been farmland. A modern-day gold rush frenzy took over the valley, and little startup companies really made an effort to mushroom into big dollar enterprises. And thousands of people migrated to Sunnyvale from all over the world. And this new kind of industry needed large numbers of highly educated people, which was a new phenomenon. Traditionally, U.S. industry needed large numbers of unskilled workers, but never before had education been such a strong requirement for these new businesses that were coming up. Santa Clara Valley soon emerged as having the highest number of PhDs per capita than any place else in the country. The evolution of the internet and popular use of the World Wide Web in the 1990s spawned a whole new wave of electronics businesses virtually unknown a decade earlier, and now all of our business world and personal lives are run by all kinds of email and e-commerce, and today the dot-com companies and internet support companies really dominate the high-tech marketplace. By 1980, Sunnyvale was acknowledged as the heart of the Silicon Valley, and that was because within its boundaries, within its city borders, there were more high-technology companies than any other city in the world. And since then, some of the other cities in the county have taken on similar nicknames. And San Jose says it's the capital of Silicon Valley, and Santa Clara claims to be the center, and Palo Alto and Mountain View are still battling out as to which can rightfully claim to be the birthplace of Silicon Valley. Palo Alto, of course, claims that because Hewlett and Packard started in the late 30s in a little garage that they have the right to claim that title. But Mountain View has a strong argument for the fact that silicon was first used in a commercial product in Shockley Laboratories, which was located in Mountain View. So at some point they'll work out their battle between who rightfully is the birthplace of the Silicon Valley. In any case, the evolving nature of technology is that we don't know what will come next. And there are many unresolved problematic issues that have resulted from the emergence of the Silicon Valley. Issues relating to lack of housing for both the unskilled and for professionals. And there's no available land to address some of those housing issues. Traffic management and transportation solutions still elude regional planners. And the fate of Moffett Field is still a contentious issue, even though NASA has taken over management of the base. So what will Sunnyvale's role be in the new millennium, in the history of Silicon Valley? Will it have simply an economic role? Or can Sunnyvale maintain some of its own identity, its own history, and its own personality? Choices and policies that are made today, what to tear down and what to build, what to preserve and what we keep, what we throw away. All of these things that we're debating today will have an impact on what Sunnyvale looks like and what its legacy will be in the future of Silicon Valley.